Hey everyone, welcome back to my wedding planning series. Today I'm going to be talking about our guest list, our budget, and our theme or flow that we'd like for our wedding. So I've talked briefly about it, but on a Practical Weddings website, they have this image that helps you start at a high level and break down into the details for wedding planning. And I use that when planning our wedding. One of the first things it tells you to look at is like what kind of theme or flow that you want for your wedding, what you want your budget to be, and what you want your mission to be like for this wedding. So for this video, I'm going to focus on a couple of these as well as the guest list. So I'm just going to start with the guest list because that's something that came easy for us. We had talked about it before and knew we wanted to have about 100 people share in our wedding day. This is both for budget reasons as well as the personal aspect. I think that weddings that are greater than about 100, maybe you could get away with 150 people, get to be really impersonal. It's extremely difficult to get around to everyone and make sure that you're seeing all these people that are important to you and that you want to spend time with. This is especially true for myself and Nathan because the majority of our guests, I'd say like 85-90% of them, are traveling from out of town. Actually, let's bump that number up. Like 95% of our guests are traveling from out of town. And that's anywhere from an hour away to 10 hours away driving to completely across the country. And so it's really important that we wanted to be able to spend time with these people when they are making a financial commitment to come share this day with us. Figuring out who to invite for the guest list wasn't too difficult, at least from my perspective. I have a pretty small family, so I invited all of my extended family. And that's because I'm actually close with them. One thing I've thought about when deciding on who I would like to invite is keeping in mind the kind of relationships I have with them now, because I think that's important to honor the friendships that I have currently, but also to consider what kind of friendship or what I think our friendship will look like in 5-10 years from now. This has come up with a few people that I would like to rekindle our relationship with more, but I don't honestly see it happening in the future just based on the past couple years. This has made some tough decisions for myself, but I think by doing this, I'm really going to have the people at my wedding who truly care about me and my fiance and our married life together. For Nathan, the guest list is a little more difficult. He has a very large family. And so we have invited his family, knowing that it's predominantly going to be his family at the party, and that didn't leave us many spaces to invite his friends. What's good though is he is really good friends with a lot of people in his family, and so he's really excited to spend time with them. We did make sure to extend the invites to everyone. That was especially important, and so we do have friends coming, don't worry. But this is mainly going to be a family type ceremony and reception for us, which both of us are perfectly okay with. I actually love the idea because family is something that's extremely important to me, and it's also important to him. So our budget. For coming up with my budget, I looked at a Practical Wedding for examples. I went on Wedding Wire and I looked at actual vendors that we could consider using, and I put together a budget before talking to anybody, which I think is extremely important. It helps you stay in line with what you're expecting to spend. Saying that, I do want to disclaimer this, that it is completely possible to plan the wedding that you want within your budget as long as you are flexible. When I started talking to vendors, I found that there were small hidden fees that weren't advertised, which bumped prices up, or the vendors that I wanted that were cheaper and were in my price range weren't available, and so I needed to find other resources. Now, one way of doing that is looking for people who aren't professionals. So as I talked in the previous video, there is a wedding page on Facebook that I follow where a lot of people discuss the ideas of using people who are fresh out of school and need experience, as they're likely to charge less and still have a great quality. This is something I've explored for certain things, but we haven't needed it because we decided instead to adjust our budget to meet what we really desire our wedding to be like. Given that, we thought that we would be throwing our wedding for roughly $5,000, but right now it's looking like it's going to come out to about $10,000. Now, mind you, we didn't plan it on actually being $5,000. It was like early on when we talked about it, we're like, oh yeah, we can totally do a wedding for $5,000. And that was before we looked up any prices or anything. Once we looked up prices, we were thinking it'd be about $7,500, $8,000. So coming in at roughly 10, again, this isn't a final number, this is just kind of an estimate of what I think it's going to be around after we finish all of the expenses, isn't so far off for either of us. We're both lucky enough that we're secure in our jobs and have stable incomes that we are able to support this budget, but that is the only reason why we're allowing the shift in our budget. If we did not have the money and any of this had to go on credit, we've already discussed that's not an option for us. We will not be paying interest or anything, or putting our wedding on credit in general. I've read it many times, but it's such a bad idea to start your marriage with debt. And having bad debt is something neither of us want, and we've been actively working to avoid. And so it would be really problematic, or just mentally problematic, I guess, for me to be taking on debt at this time. We used our theme, or the flow that we wanted for our wedding, to help determine this budget as well, which is also why it's kind of shifted a little. We want our wedding to be more laid back, not completely like jeans and a t-shirt laid back, but I'm marketing it as semi-formal. I still want everyone to get, a little dressed up and feel pretty that day, but I also don't want all of these etiquette rules in place saying that I have to send certain types of invites with RSVP cards, and it has to have the return address with a stamp and X, Y, and Z. That stuff is the stuff that gives me headaches. I said in my last video, I do not care about the details of the wedding to a certain extent. For the most part, I don't care about the details. It's not important to me. I would much rather focus on the bigger meaning of the day and the bigger items, and we really wanted to focus on our guests having a good time at our wedding. We know that we'll have a good time because we're picking everything out, but we want to make sure that our guests are going to have a good time as well. By making sure that our guests have a good time, we're going to have an even better time. So the theme of our wedding is You Are My Sunshine. If you look up the original song, You Are My Sunshine, it's actually a fairly sad and depressing song. I didn't know this at first. I only knew the kids' song. And so I was actually like, oh yeah, let's have the ceremony musician sing this at our wedding. And then we looked it up, we're like, no, probably not. But so, the reason that we picked You Are My Sunshine is because it is a song that we would sing to each other, again, the child version. We would sing to each other randomly just as a little pick-me-up and a reminder that, hey, I love you and you make my world so beautiful. So running with this theme of You Are My Sunshine, we have decided on yellow and green pastel colors as our two primary colors for the wedding. We're also supplementing it with grays and whites, which really excites me. It is so much fun that we're having a summer wedding and we get to play with yellow and green. So along with all of this, some other things have come up. For one, we've had to compromise on some things. This is extremely important, and I think it's important because I do most of the planning, and I want to make sure that Nathan feels included in on it. Not that I'm making all the decisions. I want to compromise. I want to work with him so that we come up with something together. So compromise is extremely important to me so that he really feels and understands that this is his day too. This is not just for me. This is not just for the bride, and this goes for all brides out there. I'm sorry if you disagree. But it's not just a one-person wedding. You're not marrying yourself. You're not marrying yourself just to have a giant party. You're marrying someone else, and that is the focus of a wedding, is the marriage. So I have compromised on a few things. Nathan has compromised on a few things, and we've worked together to build and design a wedding that both of us are very happy with. Some things that we have talked about and compromised on have to do with what's going to be in the wedding versus what's out, and this also plays a role in the budget. As I mentioned in my last video, we are not having a wedding planner. This is something that we've talked about a few times, and what we decided is in lieu of a wedding planner, we would rather have a DJ. That is something that Nathan compromised on. He would like a DJ. He does want the guests to have a really good time with the music and the flow and everything. The flow is very important to him. But he also felt like we could accomplish this with an iPod. And I completely agree. We could plug in an iPod and it would be perfectly fine. Nobody would complain. Everyone would have a great time because, again, they're there for us, not for the music, not for the food. They're there for us and to celebrate this day with us. But I thought it was a little more important to have a DJ, and I didn't think it was as important to have a wedding planner. Ask me this in 5-6 months and see what I think after the wedding. Maybe I would change my mind. But so far things have been running smoothly. I am staying organized, and so I do not mind giving up the wedding planner. One other thing that we have given up is alcohol. We will be having a dry wedding, And this is because the majority of our guests do not drink. So why would we spend a bunch more money on alcohol that the majority of people aren't going to drink? One of the things we have decided on as well are aspects of it that we want to keep traditional versus things that we're willing to take a more modern spin. So some of the traditions that are in every wedding, such as a bouquet toss and a garter toss, aren't going to be in our wedding because one of us or both of us aren't comfortable with it. We're also taking out different aspects of the wedding ceremony and other things from the reception just because it doesn't fit with what we want and what we envision for our wedding. And I'm just letting you know to tell you all that are curious or wondering, like, is it okay to take these things out? Absolutely yes. Do what you want for your wedding, for your day with each other. And then finally, one of the decisions that we made for our wedding is that we do want kids there. Nathan's family has a fair amount of kids in it, and I couldn't imagine spending my day without them there. I cannot wait to hug them and kiss them and love them on a day that I am feeling so grateful for love and the relationships and family bonds that we're tying on that day. I think it's very important to have the kids there because they're just as much family as the adults. I understand the argument people have that they're so worried about screaming and crying and fussing and messes, but those don't bother me at all. Now keep in mind, I absolutely love children, and so I'm a little biased with wanting to have them there, but I actually like having little spurses of kids thrown in. Like, I love when I see a kid not doing the right thing at a wedding, and it's just funny. Like I don't know, I just think of like kids walking down the aisle or running down the aisle, or, you know, I don't want them to be upset, obviously, and crying because that just hurts my heart, but I don't think kids need to be perfect on a wedding day. I don't think anything needs to be perfect on a wedding day. I just want the wedding day to come as is, and we will deal with it just like that. I'm hoping I can keep this a little more free-spirited attitude on the wedding day. I intend on keeping that in mind, that nothing is going to go perfect and it's all going to be perfectly fine, but we'll see when it actually happens. I'll update you guys then. Anyways, that is a little bit about our budget, our theme, and our guest list, and some things that we have in and out. If you like this video, do not forget to thumbs up and subscribe for more. Talk to you guys soon.